Ladies and gentlemen, we are still waiting for the new fusion updates. So we're going to continue our new series of ranking each legendary within their own respective factions, as well as just kind of overall. I realize I didn't do a very good job of keeping it central to the faction with Banner Lords, so we're going to try to do a little bit better with the High Elves here. Let's go ahead and get straight into it, guys. Elenarl is old school champ. I know she still has relevance to this day. She's even used in some promo links, so she's definitely got some value. She's pretty doggone slow, though. Hold up. Click the link in the description right now to get a free Uugo, as well as 2 more free epic champions as you level up. Here are the steps to get yours. Step 1. Log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Step 2. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox and claim your first champ. This is an amazing account start to raid, so click the link and start now. She's got an A1 burn for 2 turns that cannot be resisted. On the A2, she's got an AoE places poison for 2 turns, places a second poison for 2 turns if the attack is critical. And then on the A3, activates all poison debuffs on all enemies instantly. She's got crit rate in faction crits by 24%. Overall, it's a pretty basic kit. Overall, I will give her 6 out of 10 simply because combusting is so good, as well as an irresistible burn is really nice. Pixneal. Oh my gosh, the walking librarian. I don't like this champion. Her base stats are alright, but not a fan of this champion. On the A1, she attacks 1 enemy, places Perfect Veil for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP. On the A2, places increased defense and continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns, then attacks all enemies under freeze. Places a weakened debuff for 2 turns on all enemies under freeze. 3-turn cooldown. I mean, it's okay. And then on the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when booked of placing freeze for 1 turn. And on the passive, she is immune to freeze and fills this champion's turn meter by 25% every time an ally receives a freeze. And the active effect, which books down to a 2-turn cooldown, at the end of each enemy or ally turn, removes all freeze debuffs from all allies. If there are multiple champions in the team with this skill, only one will remove the freeze debuffs from all allies. It's not a bad passive. The passive's actually pretty nice, but look at this. I mean, 6, 8, 15, 18 books. 18 books for this champion? No way in Hades am I doing that. She's got resistance in all battles by 60. She's just not that great of a champ. I give her, because of how many books she takes, I give her a 3 out of 10. I think she's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Up next is Alexander the Sharpshooter. You cannot get this champion anymore. He was a login champ from way back in the day, and it's a good thing you can't get this champ anymore because he's pretty bad. Pretty bad. He's got an A1, attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. The chance increases to 75% against enemies from the Orc and Ogren tribe. So niche. On the A2, AoE has a 100% chance when booked of placing decreased defense for 2 turns. Also has a 100% chance of placing a weakened debuff against enemies from the Orc and Ogren factions. Alexander's racist. And then on the A3, attacks 1 enemy, removes all buffs from the target, removes all buffs from the target before attacking when targeting enemies from the Ogren factions. Accuracy in all battles by 60. He's not good. I've gone up against him. He doesn't hit that hard. Honestly, I give Alexander a 4 out of 10. I don't think he's good at all. Strategos Islan, on the other hand. Oh my gosh, this guy. There are a few champions in this game that have made me absolutely want to throw my phone across the room angry. And this is one of them. He is just... On the A1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing Provoke for 1 turn. When counterattacking, the chance increases to 65. Defense based, so he's tanky. He's got great base defense. On the A2, AoE, before attacking, has a 100% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. Has a 100% chance of placing decreased speed big version for 2 turns as well. And then on the A3, places ally protection on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and places increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. Also places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns, and places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is proportionate to this champion's defense. This shield can be absolutely huge, and it makes it such a force to be reckoned with. Then on the passive, which is what makes this guy just utterly a menace. Whenever this champion is attacked, heals themselves by 1% for each 500 defense this champion has. Heal all other allies under ally protection placed by this champion by 30% of this skill's initial heal. The amount of healing that this guy can do for himself is unprecedented. Literally, I've had my best nukers hit this guy, and he will actually have a net positive heal. He's annoying as all get out. I wish I had him. I think he is one of the better non-void legendaries in this faction. I give Strategos Islin I give him an 8 out of 10. He's great. He does a lot of healing. He also has accuracy in all battles by 60. Fina, Blade of Aravia, pretty strong as far as the faction unity champions go. She's got great base stats, especially for support. Let's see what she's all about. The A1 attacks one enemy, has a 70% chance when booked of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the target by 2 turns. When counterattacking with this skill, team up with a random ally. The ally joining will use their default skill. Great A1. On the A2, places a block debuffs, block damage, and counterattack on a target ally for 2 turns. If the target of this skill is not this champion, resets the cooldown of all of the target's skills. This skill's cooldown cannot be decreased, but it's on a 3 turn anyway, so you're going to be getting back to it pretty quickly. And then on the A3, places increased attack, increased crit rate, and increased crit damage on all allies for 2 turns. With 1 faction ally, it grants an extra turn. With 2, before placing buffs, removes all debuffs from all allies, and with 3, the buffs become protected. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, so if you have 1 ally, it's effectively a 2. So with 1 ally, you get 100% uptime of these buffs. It's a very powerful skill. And then on the passive, whenever a buff is placed on an ally, fills their turn meter by 3%. With 1 ally, allies deal 25% more damage when attacking out of their active turn, which would be counterattacks and ally attacks. With 2 allies, whenever a buff is removed or stolen from an ally, or when it expires, fills their turn meter by 10%. This can generate a crap ton of turn meter. And with 3 allies, allies will ignore 5% of a target's defense for each buff on them. She is excellent for setting up nukers and generating a lot of damage in turn meter. And then she's got speed in all battles by 20% and crit rate in all battles by 15% for High Elves. Nobody cares about the crit rate, but the speed in all battles is really nice. As a faction unity champ, she's solid, and as a High Elf champion, I give Fina, Blade of Aravia you know what? Shoot. With all the potential that she's got, I give her a 10 out of 10. I think she is fantastic. I wish I had her. Next up, we've got Wallmaster Athorion. A very good champion, very good Hydra champion, but then again, any champion with enemy max HP, which he has, is incredibly sought after. I have been told, however, that this champion is very stat hungry, so we will keep that in mind with the ranking. On the A1, he's got an AoE that will not trigger counterattacks and fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for each living enemy after the attack. You use this in Hydra, the heads can't be classified as dead, so it's going to be a 20% turn meter fill on the A1. On the A2, attacks all enemies 2 times. The first hit has a 100% chance when booked of placing a block buffs for 2 turns. The second hit has a 100% chance of placing a decrease attack for 2 turns. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for each living enemy after the attack. Again, that's another 20% turn meter from this A2, and this is enemy max HP damage on an AoE twice. It's a very, very powerful skill. He will outdamage Newt in Hydra with this easily because Newt's a single target. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is even better. And he also fills 2 critical debuffs for your Hydra team. So yeah, he's very solid. And then on the A3, he sets himself up with increased attack, increased accuracy, and increased speed for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. It books down to a 4 turn with the extra turn. That's practically a 3. It's a very, very good kit. And then on the passive, it makes him even better for Hydra. Increases this champion's max HP by 20% for each enemy killed or Hydra head decapitated by this champion. Stacks up to 50,000 HP. So you can build him squishy and then just keep tearing down heads, and he's going to ramp up a ton of HP. For Hydra, Wallmaster is an easy 10. Outside of Hydra, enemy max HP is so good. I'd say he's probably, outside of Hydra, I'd probably give him a 7. So we'll go in middle of the road and we'll go with a 9. I think Wallmaster is incredibly strong. Yes, he's stat hungry, but you have options of avoiding those stats if you so choose. For example, if you have other champions that bring block buffs or decrease attack, there's no reason to build this guy with accuracy. And because of his passive, you don't have to worry about his HP. For a champion who requires a lot of stats, he's easy to work around. Shiramani. This champion is a joke. Yeah, I don't even know what she does. She's that bad because I've never gone up against her and her get a turn, even like in faction wars. On the A1, she attacks 3 times at random, has a 25% chance of placing freeze for 1 turn. The A2 heals an ally by 50% and all other allies by 20% of their max HP, places continuous heal for 2 turns on targets with full HP. And then on the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing freeze for 1 turn, fills his champion's turn meter by 10% for each attacked enemy. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. She's got defense and faction crypts by 33%. Her base stats aren't anything to write home about. I'm also just not very high on freeze champs to begin with, but when they're this bad, I give Shiramani a 3 out of 10. I just don't think she's any good. Lana Therrell. Talk about somebody I wish I had for Faction Wars and Scarab Boss. This guy is really, really solid. His base speed is low, but his HP is high, which he's HP based, so we're happy about that. On the A1, attacks 1 enemy, destroys the target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. Places a shield buff equal to 10% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. This is like Krilla's A1 on steroids because of the destroying target's max HP. The shield that would be placed with this skill is actually nothing to sneeze at because I've had Krilla's shield come in pretty clutch. Throw him a blood shield ring and he's going to help out a lot just by providing shields in Scarab Boss, let alone destroying max HP. On the A2, it's an AoE, places a shield on all allies for 3 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. If there are any dead allies, places a shield buff on all allies for 3 turns equal to 30% of this champion's max HP instead. This buff cannot be removed, stolen, transferred, spread, or have its duration increased or decreased by enemies or allies. It's a very strong skill, especially again for Scarab King. Then on the A3, places increased crit damage on all allies for 2 turns, then teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. So not only is he teaming up with the entire team, but he gives increased crit damage, which is going to boost your damage by, 30%. And then on the passive, inflicts 20% more damage against targets under shield buffs. He's really solid. I wish I had him. He's got HP and Doom Tower by 35%, which is actually pretty good, again, for Scarab Boss, which I think is like his peak use case. He's a very solid champion. I will give Lana Therrell I'll give him a 6 out of 10. I think he is better than most of the champions in here, but his use cases are a little niche outside of just having an ally attack. But I think he's very good. Basilius Rowanus. Basilius? I don't know. I think this champion's a joke. I've never gone up against him. I've never seen him in any kind of content, and I guess there's going to be a reason why. With A1, 100% chance of stealing a random buff from the target. Also places block buffs for 1 turn if the target has no active buffs. On the A2, attacks 1 enemy 3 times, will ignore increased defense, shield, and block damage, as well as 50% of the target's defense. This is weird. This is reading like a pretty good kit for a nuker, and he's got a good base attack. And then the A3 is an AoE, 100% chance of placing stun for 1 turn, decreases each target's turn meter by 50% if the stun is not placed. What am I missing here? What is bad about this guy? Like, the kit reads really well. I guess he just doesn't hit hard. Let's see what the reviews say. The reviews are kind of middle of the road to bad. So yeah, the multipliers just must not be there on this guy. Considering again that I've never seen him used, I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 10. I won't give him 5. We'll say he's just below average, and we'll just blame it on his multipliers. And finally, wrapping up this episode, we have Deliana. She is either the first or one of the first login champions that Raid ever did. She is solid. I've seen her hit incredibly hard. She is HP based with decent base HP. Her speed could use some help though. On the A1, she's got an AoE 60% chance at placing Leech for 2 turns. On the A2, she attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing decreased resistance for 2 turns. If the target is under a block buffs debuff, also applies a debuff spread effect, taking any decreased resistance on the target and placing it on all enemies. This skill can hit pretty doggone hard. And then on the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing block buffs on each enemy for 2 turns, heals all allies by 5% of their max HP for each block buffs placed by this skill, and fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each block buffs attempt blocked or resisted by the enemy team. On a 4-turn cooldown, then a passive increases this champion's accuracy by 2 points for every 1000 HP this champion has, and it has an active effect on a 4-turn cooldown, places a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns every time this champion's HP drops below 50%. Again, very good. She can hit really hard, and she's got pretty good utility. Honestly, I think her only problem, in my eyes, is that decreased resistance doesn't have much of a place in the game right now, and her base speed is just low. She's also got HP in all battles by 33%, so she's got a solid aura too. I will give Deliana an 8 out of 10. I think she is very respectable. There are still plenty of accounts that could use her even in today's world, all these years later. So yeah, guys, that is going to be the first half of the High Elves faction. Be sure to tune in next time for the second half. It's going to be much more interesting and probably a whole lot more polarized. Let me know what you guys thought of my list in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you all for getting close to 60 subscribers. Don't forget that once we cross over to 100, we will be doing a special stream with some added bonuses just to thank you guys for the 100 subscribers. I'll let you know more about that when we hit 75. So yeah, without further ado, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, maybe turn on the little notification bell if your heart so desires. I hope you all stay happy, healthy, and tanky.